This is my 1998 RSTI Coupe, and I've been doing a full interior restoration series on this car. And as you guys can see, I've got the headliner installed, the seats installed, the center console installed, and the dash installed, and the interior is looking great on this car. But there's one more piece that needs to be installed, and that's the door panels. But before I install the door panels, I actually have to install one more thing, and that is the new door panel speakers. So in today's video, I'm gonna walk you through the right way to install a set of aftermarket speakers in your first gen Impreza.
This is my little SubaruONLY shop. It's a DIY Subaru channel. It's a channel where all I do is Subaru builds and race Subaru vehicles in motorsport events. It's a DIY themed channel where I walk you guys through the steps to get your Subarus back on the road and hopefully do a little racing of your own. So thanks for checking out the video, guys. I really appreciate it.
Okay, you're looking at all the components that we're going to need for this speaker install. Right here, I've actually got the factory speaker brackets. These are ABS plastic, and as you can see, there's actually a bead right here of butyl tape. And you can use anything like butyl tape or any other kind of like foam seal material, but you're going to want to have some kind of flexible seal between this hard plastic bracket and the metal door that you install it into. So you're going to need two of these suckers. And then you need a speaker wire pigtails. These are actually the wires and the plugs that will plug into your factory wiring harness. And I actually had to go to the junkyard and pick up a couple of these suckers. But it's nice to have these factory wires and these factory plugs, and it makes it really easy to disconnect everything at a later time. And then next we have all the things that came with the speaker kit. This is a set that I'll be using. It's a Pioneer 6.5-inch speaker. It's a two-way speaker, and it's 300 watts max. These are just a basic set of 6.5-inch speakers, guys. And I don't have any preference for Pioneer or any other aftermarket manufacturer. But the one thing I will say is that Pioneer is who Subaru partnered up with for a lot of their aftermarket stereo systems through the late 90s and early 2000s. I'll be sure to list these on my Amazon store, and I'll include a link in the description below. Okay, so what came in the Pioneer box? Of course, you got the speakers. These are 6.5-inch speakers, and I'll pull one out right here so you can kind of see. These are the speakers, and they have a separate little grill. We're probably not going to use this grill because it's just going to get in the way, so I'll probably toss that. And in addition to the speakers, they're also going to give you a set of screws to use to install these speakers into those little speaker brackets, and they include some new speaker wire. And those speaker wires are actually going to have really nice terminal fittings with like little plastic covers over them to keep the moisture out. That way you can have a nice connection to the speaker itself. But they actually come bare here. So you're actually gonna have to strip these and connect these wires to your factory little wiring harness plug. And to do that, I'm gonna walk you guys through the basics of using a soldering iron and soldering this little wiring connection. Okay, I'm gonna start by installing these speakers into these speaker brackets. So go ahead and take out one of the speakers, remove that speaker grill and set that aside for right now. And then take that speaker bracket and flip it over. This is the side that's gonna be installed on the metal side of the door. And when you flip it over, you're going to see there's going to be three little dowels. There's a little locating dowel right here, a locating dowel right here, and a locating dowel right here. Those little locating dowels actually work with a lot of the aftermarket manufacturer speakers. And those will actually work to hold that speaker in a nice centered location. And that makes it really easy to install those screws. So you can go ahead and grab a couple of those screws that they included and install those screws right here, here, and here. And there you have it, or so you'd think, because actually that ain't gonna work, guys. Let me take a look at right here on the back. Take a look at these little screws right here. If I kind of peel the seal back a little bit, what do you think about that? What do you think is gonna happen when that little metal screw tries to screw into the metal door frame or the door panel of your car? That ain't gonna be good. Not cool, and not the way you wanna do this. I said at the beginning of the video, I'm gonna show you guys the right way to do it. So, I gotta let you guys know, using these screws that come in your speakers is definitely not the right way because these screws actually poke too far through. This is the factory little speaker bracket, and you can kind of see the thickness of the speaker bracket and the thickness of the speaker. And actually, if you can line up the screw right here, that screw is going to completely protrude all the way through the bracket and through that foam. And that, you guys, is going to poke a fat hole right in your metal door frame. And I gotta let you guys know, speaker shops are notorious for not respecting classic cars. Just ask Bucky Lassick and his little experience with a speaker shop and the bucket. I think you guys know what I mean on that one. Let's head over to my car and see if I got any speaker holes in my car from previous little speaker shops that didn't respect this classic. Let's see here. What do you think that is right there? And that is right there, and that is right there. And what are those right there? Yeah, look at this ridiculousness. This is what happens, guys, when you get a bunch of hacks and a bunch of speaker shops that just go ahead and go crazy on trying to install speakers and not use the factory brackets and do it the correct way. Although it's already riddled with holes, I'm not about to add a couple more. That's for sure. Okay, so what's the solution? Well, the solution is definitely not to use these screws. And let's start by pulling these screws out, and I'll walk you guys through what the real solution is going to be. Okay, now that I've taken that speaker out, you can actually see the holes that I actually put from those screws. These are the holes I just installed, and those holes are actually poking through the plastic and through the rubber seal right here. This is where this cast plastic speaker bracket is actually designed to have the screws put in. So instead of putting the screws into this little random spot right here, we actually need to install those screws to these little holes right here where they actually have the casting designed for them. Now, of course, the problem is these speakers don't actually line up with those holes. The holes for the speaker actually put that hole right through the middle of that bracket, not in the right location. So the hole for the bracket is somewhere over here on the speaker. So I need to somehow mark this speaker with the correct hole location and then drill a hole through the metal speaker housing. That way I can use this correct location to install a screw through that speaker and into this plastic speaker bracket. Now there's a bunch of different ways to do this, guys, but one of the easiest ways is just to stick something in this little hole and then use a dry eraser pen, put a little ink on the head, and then go ahead and put the speaker down, and then hopefully transfer that ink to the speaker so you can actually see the location and drill the hole on the back of that speaker. So let's go ahead and see if that way works first. Alright, as you guys probably saw in the time lapse, that dry eraser didn't work, so I busted out the thing that you know will always transfer over, and that is Antiseize. If you ever want to make any transfer marks, Antiseize, guys, is this stuff that magically just sticks to everything. So it is the best thing to transfer over a mark. So as you can see right here, here, and here, I've got those Antiseize marks. I'm going to go ahead and make a little dimple in each one of those locations, and then drill a hole through it, and those will be my new locations that I can use to mount these speakers to those plastic brackets. Okay, I've got all three holes, and I'll go ahead and drop these on the little speaker bracket so you can see that these line up just fine. And indeed, it does look like these new holes that I marked and drilled to the speaker actually are going to line up with that plastic speaker housing. And then you also need to use a smaller little screw. So this one on the left right here, this is a black one that came with the speaker kit. This is a slightly shorter little screw, I'd say about 2/3 the length, that I'm going to use. That way this screw doesn't protrude through the back and into that metal door frame. So there you have it, that Pioneer 6.5-inch speaker is installed in that factory bracket. I'm actually using all the factory bracket locations with those new screw holes that I've actually drilled into the metal speaker frame. As I flip this thing over, you guys can see that that screw is actually a shorter screw, and it's not protruding through that little bracket and that little seal any longer. And because I'm going through that little factory cast location, this little screw that's holding the speaker to this little bracket, it has a lot of material to bite into as it screws through that bracket. So this speaker is completely installed in this bracket, and we'll install this complete thing in the car as one unit. But before I do that, I need to jump over to that speaker wire and take care of that pigtail. These are the factory pigtails, and this is the side that actually plugs into that factory door wiring harness. The other side, on the other hand, is what's going to plug into the speaker. And I actually sourced these from the junkyard, so one of them actually has the correct tips on it already. But the other one actually has this type of plug on it, and I'm actually going to have to snip this plug off and install one of these factory tips on the end of it. That way I can connect it to that speaker. And I'm going to walk you guys through that process right now. Okay, we'll start by snipping off that little plug, like that. And then go ahead and peel back that sheath using a pair of these little wire strippers. Sure, that's pretty straightforward for you guys. And we'll take this pigtail from the new speaker set, and I'm actually going to cut this one down. I actually don't want this whole length, because that's going to make this sucker too long. So let me cut it down to only about halfway length. And then go ahead and split this sucker, and again, take off the plastic sheath using your wire strippers. And I'm going to go ahead and connect this black one to the black one right here, and this solid white one to the red one. And I'm going to walk you guys through how you actually interweave these wires, and then how I go ahead and solder these wires. Okay, we'll start with the black ones, and basically the trick here is you kind of want to spread out those wires a little bit. You don't want to twist them into a twisty tie yet. Spread them out a little bit, and then kind of intermesh the wires like this. And after you've intermeshed them, then you kind of twist them together. Okay guys, I've got it all set up, and getting some kind of little contraption like this to hold your wires really makes things a lot easier. I've also seen little ones that have like little alligator clips on each end, and that will hold the wires really easily. I got this little custom setup a long time ago, and I've held on to it, and it works great for these little wire jobs, these little wire soldering jobs. There's a couple tricks here you guys always want to follow. One of them is you always want to tin your tip. So basically add a little bit of solder just to your tip, and then put it in a wet sponge. That actually removes that oxidation layer on the top of that tip, and that will actually make sure you get a really good solder every time. So you put it in the sponge and then don't touch that tip. That's what that wet sponge is for. And then go ahead and get that solder tip on your material, then bring that little solder up above it. You'll slowly kind of just warm up your material just a little bit. And what you want to do is you want to heat up the material, and you want the solder to melt and then kind of melt through your wires. Now I'm using flux core solder. You can actually use a little flux core paste and put that paste on the wires as well. I'm not using that on this one. There you go, you see that real close? Starting to melt, and it's melting through the wires. Just like that, it's perfect. Keeping that heat below the wire, and just melting that solder into the wire. Just enough. There you go, perfect. And this wire, guys, is perfectly soldered. It's gonna have a really, really good bond. You want to let it cool, so don't mess with it. Don't yank on it in the first like 5 or 6 seconds. Let it cool for just about 10 or 15 seconds, and then that sucker should be good to go. Alright guys, this sucker is good to go. I've got that soldering done on both wires. I put a little bit of electrical tape over it as well. And this little pigtail is good to go for this speaker. So let's go ahead and grab these speakers and get them installed in this 98 RS. Okay, we're on the driver's side of the RS. I got the speaker here installed with that factory little bracket, as you can see. And as you can also see, there's actually little holes right here. So you actually want to install that little pigtail through this little square hole right here. That way it's not getting crushed between the speaker and the door. As far as the screws to hold this little bracket in, these are just those factory dash little screws used all over Subarus. And these are actually the perfect little size screw to go into those little plastic inserts that are in the door. And of course the last step is to plug that new speaker in. Bam! Okay guys, and this installation is done. You're looking at a two-way 6.5-inch Pioneer speaker installed the correct way in a 1998 RS Coupe. And of course this installation will apply to any 1993 through 2001 Subaru Impreza. And most of the steps will apply to all Subarus and frankly all makes and models of cars. Okay, final step. Let's see if these speakers actually work. Honestly, I have no idea, guys. I haven't even tried this. I did get the factory little dimmer lights to work recently. Check that out. Got a little green light back there behind everything. Sweet. And I'm hearing a little bit of static, guys. Oh, shit. Okay, I can't play that, guys. It's gonna get like, you know, copyrighted. I've actually got my antenna pulled down. Let me see if I can pull this antenna up and see if that helps at all. Whoop. All right, let's see if that gives us a little bit better reception. Ooh, yeah, instantly.
And let us pray. Almighty, ever-living
All right, a little bit of religious broadcast. Sorry about that, guys, for those of you guys who aren't into that. All right, guys, this thing's working. I don't know how good the quality is there with the reception in my garage, but those speakers are definitely working great. And I gotta say, guys, this is the last step where I can finally get those door panels installed on these doors. So if you guys have been following this interior restoration build, I hope you guys have enjoyed it, because we're definitely wrapping this one up. Thanks for checking out the video, guys. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions or any comments, please go ahead and leave them in the comment section. If you guys need any parts or any maintenance items for your Subaru, make sure you check out my SubaruONLY Amazon store. You can see the link in the description below. Also, if you guys need factory service manuals or any wiring diagrams or any factory technician guides, I got all of that, guys, on my website at SubaruONLY.com. It's a great resource for Subaru enthusiasts, and I've got material on there that covers all the different makes and models of Subarus. So thanks so much for checking out the video, guys. I really appreciate it. My name's Luke. You guys are watching the SubaruONLY channel. Until next time, guys. Later! Thanks again for watching this video, guys. As you guys know, I'm a diehard Subaru enthusiast. And I've also had the opportunity to be involved in motorsports for over 2 decades now. But I'm also a professional hydrogeologist. and I've actually spent years in laboratories performing experiments where I studied the flow of fluids using the properties of physics and fluid mechanics. In these YouTube videos, I'm actually able to combine my experience from the laboratories and all the research I've done with my experience from all the motorsport series I've been involved in and my passion for Subarus. If you have any professional inquiries about Subaru-related R&D or digital marketing and media, you can contact me at SubaruONLYshop@gmail.com. Thanks for checking out the video, guys. I really appreciate it. I hope to hear from you soon.